Wow, stories.
My husband secretly donated sperm to strangers on Facebook for years. So I exposed his deeds to his boss and watched him lose everything. Hey guys, I'm going to have to anonymize some details, but I'll try and keep this as close to what happened as possible. Me, 34-year-old female, and my husband, 30-year-old male, have been together for almost a decade, dating 6 years, married 3. We're both rational, generally risk-averse people, and we love each other madly. I never would have expected there could be anything he would do to make me consider leaving the marriage. Until last week. One piece of important context. My husband, I'll call him Jeff, has a homosexual sister. I'll call her Lisa. Lisa and Jeff are 2 years apart. Lisa is older, but they're more like identical twins. Super close, and I swear they can read each other's minds. It's freaky. 4 years ago, right before Jeff and I got engaged, Lisa and her wife, let's call her Sarah, decided to start their family. They had a ton of problems with sperm banks. Too expensive, overly anonymous. And they were freaked out by that doctor who secretly impregnated his own patients. Bad stuff all around. So they ended up using a donor they found on a Facebook group. Jeff and I were fully along for the fertility journey, all the ups and downs. And Lisa and Sarah ended up finding a great guy. Kind of weird, but it worked for them. And now they have an incredible little goblin starting kindergarten next year. Fast forward to now. I just found out my husband has been donating sperm on these Facebook groups for the past 2 years. I was so devastated and furious when he finally came clean. I basically felt like he'd been cheating on me, and it was obviously a huge trust violation. Even worse, we've been trying to have kids ourselves, and so far, nothing has worked. Our own fertility struggles are a huge stress, but I felt like we were going through it together. When he finally told me, I packed up my stuff and left to stay at my mom's. A few caveats that make the situation more complicated. He only donates to queer plus couples. He only does artificial insemination, no sex/physical contact. He doesn't keep in touch with the couple after, and he's not involved with the kid. It's fully just the mothers/couples. He asks not to be involved and at least claims that he doesn't know if any of the donation attempts worked. He says it's just genetic material, and that ever since his niece was born, he can't imagine life without her. That's the only part I can kind of understand. I love our niece too, and she only exists because some guy on Facebook decided to release in a cup. I sympathize with queer plus people who can't have kids without donors, but I absolutely can't see myself being involved with someone who might have kids I don't know about. Even if that means there might be families who don't conceive. He's begged me every day to come back, but I obviously can't face him or work through it so soon. I can accept that it's not cheating exactly, but I don't know if I'd see a way to get through this. The thought of leaving is unfathomable to me, but so is staying after what he did. He says the only reason he didn't tell me is because of my own struggle getting pregnant, and he didn't want to add to the stress, but that the important thing is he came clean. I obviously don't see that as justification for lying. I built my life with him, and I want to find some way through this. He says he'll do anything, but what can he possibly do to build back my trust? I'm so lost. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Okay, this is much messier than maybe you imagined, but this goes beyond the lying and deception, and could end poorly for him legally speaking, even if he had some sort of contract in place with these couples, which sounds like he probably didn't. Based on this ruling in Kansas, without a licensed physician, your husband doesn't qualify as a legal sperm donor. He can absolutely be sued for child support by any of these couples, and that puts your shared marital assets at risk. If it were me, I would reach out to an attorney and consider divorce. Comment 2. That's a pretty big thing to not share with a spouse. I wonder if he suddenly decided to tell you because there's something coming, lawsuits or news articles, that would make you find out. So he's trying to get ahead of it. I am in a same-sex relationship, and my wife and I didn't use a clinic for sperm donation. We used a website rather than Facebook, but there were no doctors involved. We did this due to the cost of the clinic route, but we did get contracts written up by lawyers and paid for STD testing. Did he at least follow those steps? Now, for the update. Hey guys, thanks for sticking with me through this. So, after I left to stay at my mom's, things got even messier. Turns out, Lisa knew about Jeff's little side gig the whole time. She was the one who suggested it to him after they had their baby. Said it was a way to give back to the community. I couldn't believe it. Lisa, who I've always been close with, kept this from me. She justified it by saying she didn't want to put me in a difficult position, knowing our fertility issues. But betrayal is betrayal. And this one stung deep. Then, one of the couples Jeff donated to reached out to me. They somehow found my contact info, and they had a news to drop. They had twins, and they were Jeff's. They wanted him to know, even though he'd said he didn't want involvement. They thought he deserved to know. I was reeling. Twins. My husband had twins out there, and I was still coming to terms with the fact that we might never have kids of our own. Jeff was desperate, saying he'd cut all ties with the groups, that he'd do counseling, anything. But how do you trust someone after a lie that big? I was torn between the love I had for him and the sheer magnitude of his deception. The aftermath was a hurricane of emotions. My mom, bless her, was a rock, but she was also furious on my behalf. She had always liked Jeff, but now she was seeing a side of him that none of us knew existed. She kept saying how she couldn't understand how he could do this to me, to us. In the midst of all this, Lisa's marriage started to crumble. Sarah found out Lisa knew about Jeff's donations and kept it a secret. They fought, loud and ugly, and it spilled over to a family dinner. Accusations flew, and Sarah said something about Lisa always protecting Jeff more than their own relationship. It was a mess, and I was in the middle, still trying to process my own heartbreak. I was angry, so angry with Lisa. She was supposed to be my sister, too, in all the ways that mattered. But she chose to protect Jeff over being honest with me. It felt like a betrayal from both sides, and it was hard to see how we could come back from that. Then, as if things couldn't get more complicated, Jeff lost his job. The company he worked for got hit hard by some financial crisis. And just like that, he was out. He was already low, and this just knocked him down further. He started to unravel, and I saw a side of him I'd never seen before, desperate, broken, and so sorry. I was at a crossroads. I could walk away, start fresh. But looking at Jeff, seeing him so vulnerable, I couldn't shake the love I still felt. I made a choice, one that some might see as weak or desperate. I decided to forgive him. Not forget, but forgive. We started counseling, and it was rough, digging through all the lies and hurt. Lisa and I were on shaky ground. I can't look at her the same way, not yet. Maybe not ever. But she's my family, and I can't just cut her out like a bad piece of fruit. We're working through it. Slowly. Sarah and Lisa are trying to patch things up too, but it's going to be a long road for them. It's been, well, I'll just get into it, to say the least. I'm still here, still standing, and Jeff and I, we're trying. It's not perfect, and I don't know if it ever will be. But we're taking it one day at a time, trying to rebuild from the ground up.